Time Warner Cable is pleased to be an underwriting sponsor for Carolina Week.
Coming up on the September 12th edition of Carolina Week.
I'm Carla Babb in Carborough. I'll have the latest on North Carolina trooper misconduct.
We all keep a lot of things on our desks, including some things we don't want there.
In sports, one Tar Heel hopes her international playing experience will bring a national championship to Chapel Hill.
Weathercaster Johnny O will have your Carolina Week 4-day forecast.
All that and our furry friends get the brush off. Carolina Week starts right now.
From the James F. Goodman Studio in the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, connecting campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Hello and welcome to the Wednesday edition of Carolina Week. I'm Sara Huffman.
And I'm Adam Rhew. Thank you for joining us. It hasn't been a good month for North Carolina state troopers, and now the charges of misconduct have hit close to home. Carolina Week's Carla Babb is in Carborough with more.
Adam, I'm here at Carborough Police Station where a woman filed a report against Trooper Michael Steele saying that he pulled her over and made sexual advances. This is the latest in a string of incidents involving misbehavior by North Carolina troopers. And some people say it's been going on for years.
I felt like he was in between like snide and mean and like somewhat flirty. He made comments about my outfit and I just probably would have rathered if he'd have just left me alone and gotten everything over with.
Trooper Scott Harrison pulled 25-year-old Abby Byram over 3 years ago. He's the Wake County trooper fired after evidence suggested he harassed young female drivers. The court later convicted Byram for a DUI that night, but she says Harrison targeted her after watching her walk to her car on Hillsborough Street.
He probably wouldn't have pulled me if he hadn't seen me walk across the street in, a short skirt and a tank top out celebrating the night I graduated.
Now, an Orange County trooper has resigned after 2 accusations of sexual assault. North Carolina Highway Patrol spokesman Lieutenant Everett Clendenin says these incidents don't represent a pattern.
We have over 1,800 troopers on the Highway Patrol. We don't believe there's a systemic problem. We believe this is just 2 isolated instances.
He says the state's Highway Patrol has handled recent cases properly.
We've done what we can do. They're no longer members of the Highway Patrol. Now it's up to the criminal justice system to take their part, do their part.
And that's reassuring to Byram.
And I think that they are all unfit to handle the responsibilities given to them by our governor. And I would hope that they would never work in North Carolina again, whether they resigned or were fired.
Clendenin told me troopers aren't allowed to re-enter the force if they are fired by the patrol and convicted of a Class B misdemeanor like sexual harassment. This does not necessarily pertain to troopers who resign, like Steele did last week.
Carla, what should a woman do if she's nervous about being pulled over?
Well, he said they should turn on their hazard lights and crack their window rather than roll it all the way down when talking to a trooper. Also, go to a well-lit, high-traffic area. It may be a little embarrassing, but when it comes to harassment issues, it's best to put safety first.
Thank you, Carla. Carolina Week's Carla Babb reporting from Carborough.
On the 6th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks that claimed nearly 3,000 innocent lives, Carolina alums took time to honor those who died on that fateful day.
Our reporter Jaime Zaya was among friends and family at a special dedication ceremony.
September 11th, 2001, a day that many will never forget. One of the most affluent countries in the world was under attack by an unknown enemy. During that day and the many that followed, Americans felt helpless and afraid. More than 2,500 innocent people died, all in the span of 3 hours. Among those who perished, 6 Tar Heel alums. On the 6th anniversary of the tragedy, the Carolina class of 2005 offered the university a memorial garden in honor of the Tar Heels who passed that day.
The memorial garden we envision is now a beautiful reality. It will forever exist as a place of reflection and a place to remember 6 members of our Carolina family.
The official ceremony took place Tuesday morning in front of Carmichael Residence Hall, where the garden is located. Chancellor James Meeser started the event. The Army, Navy, and Air Force ROTC Color Guard also participated. The families of some of the victims sang the university's alma mater and listened carefully as Jovian Irwin, the president of the class of 2005, did the reading of the names.
It's a very poignant moment, and it makes us all recall, I think, the shock and horror of that event itself. But it also makes us remember the coming together that occurred the very next day and that occurred the rest of that year, and I think it's happened ever since.
Besides this memorial garden, the victims' families feel like their loved ones should be remembered by their contributions to freedom.
They gave their lives so that we might be free, so that terrorism would be continually eliminated.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Jaime Sea, Carolina Week.
The class of 2005 raised about $45,000 to cover the cost of the garden, including about $9,000 from their peers alone. But the class of 2005 isn't the only group at Carolina honoring the 9/11 victims. Students ran in silence to remember those who lost their lives. The stars were still out early on Tuesday morning as more than 100 people met at Hooker Fields to pay tribute to the victims of September 11th. Participants stood silently during a presentation by the ROTC Color Guard as organizers remembered that tragic day 6 years ago. The 5K took runners and walkers on a loop around campus and ended as the sun came up. With each new dawn, it gets a little easier to bear the pain. Chapel Hill firefighter Jamie Palacios shares with us how he wakes up each day to honor his friend who died on 9/11.
I was very good friends with a guy that lost his life. His wife asked me to listen to his last recordings, and what he said on that recording was extremely brave. That's the reason why I'm a firefighter today. The younger generations are prone to forget this. The people who experienced 9/11 will never forget. Most of the people who gave their lives that day were there for a choice. Nobody was forced to be there, and their choice made a big impact in my life. An unfortunate event created a huge impact on so many people.
Increases in building materials and labor costs are forcing UNC to scale back campus renovations. The rise in construction costs come courtesy of effects from Hurricane Katrina and the Iraq War. UNC's building boom was partially funded by a $3 billion state bond package 7 years ago. University leaders asked legislators for more money, but lawmakers said no. Some students would be just fine with no construction.
It's kind of like you want to stop and smell the roses, and other places have such beautiful campuses, and I feel like everybody that comes to see ours has something taken away from it because there are all these black boundaries put up.
Renovations to Hinton James dorm were supposed to total $26 million, but this spike in costs could push that number to nearly $37 million. Soon, the main campus won't be the only place where you'll run into construction. At Monday night's town council meeting, UNC Vice Chancellor Bruce Runberg asked the council to fast-track plans for the first building on the university's satellite campus, Carolina North. The goal was to break ground in a year, but concerns from council members might delay the process. Several members say they thought the university would submit everything as one master plan before dealing with individual buildings. In the meantime, construction on the main campus continues. There are currently 14 unfinished projects. If you think construction makes campus confusing, think about some poor students who thought their classroom building didn't even exist. The designer accidentally left Chapman Hall off many online campus maps. The building is located behind Phillips Hall and houses part of the physical science complex. It's also not in the directory on new campus maps, although the building does appear on the map itself. Chapman Hall is a relatively new building. It first opened in 2006. Well, that desk you're sitting at might not be as clean as it looks.
Coming up, all kinds of cruddy stuff could be hiding in your workspace.